MTV, the local high school lets out and the town becomes anarchy. Bodies are crashed, skin marks are measured. The stories in the paper, you may read it at your leisure. Get up! Eject! Escape from the prison palace! Get up! Eject! Escape from the prison palace! And to the tune of $1 billion I supplied to the
Welcome to Source Material
for the first time.
I could have gotten Amazon's attack while I was at Ollie's, now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh, my goodness. Well, now look here. we have been, it's been a half hour since we've connected this call. Tonight, Source Material is bringing to you Salvation Run. DC Comics' Salvation Run came out in the latter part of 2007 and ran up through 2008. Now, Mark, we kind of took a look at the events that led up to this, and I think you know a little bit about what happened that caused Salvation Run, or at least one of the biggest parts. Kind of let us know what happened in the pages of Flash.
There were 3 events that happened that led to the Salvation Run limited series that we will be talking about tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on the Source Material broadcast. Brought to you by... Sir.
Keep it brief.
No. Brought to you by the disapproving dad and the host of Source Material in his own right, Mr. Jesse Starter. And those events were as follows. There was Black Adam's rampage captured in the pages of Justice League America.
This yet.
World War III. Shut up. Then there was the Amazonian
I'm
attack
Ronnie.
that was captured in the limited series Amazon's Attack. And these were all lead-ups to the Final Crisis event that I believe preceded the New 52, if I remember correctly. But there was one incident specifically that happened that set this whole thing off, and it leads right to the beginning of Salvation Run. It was when the rogues, those dastardly rogues, in the pages of The Flash, the fastest man alive, issue number 13 to be exact, killed Bart Allen, otherwise known as our titular Flash. They killed him, you see. And because they killed him, and the heroes had taken all they could stand, and they couldn't stand no more, so they used boom tube technology, ladies and gentlemen, and sent the rogues to Planet Salvation.
All right, now, I'm going to take over from here. Thank you very much, sir. Ronnie Adams.
You're welcome, sir.
Ronnie Adams, how did you get this book? Was this something that...
Ollie's, my friend.
There you go. Now, would you have had any inkling to pick this up and read it if it wasn't for the fact that we're doing it tonight? Or
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Because I remember one scene from the comic books where it seemed like Joker finally became the Joker that we all wanted him to be, and beat a man to death with a rock, and then shot another one in the face.
Yes, sir.
Just because he wanted to be leader.
Yes, sir.
So I was like, ooh, I like this. That's 2 scenes, actually. But the one I remember was where he just shot a guy in the face. It was just like, it was really interesting to see, Joker be Joker again instead of, like, the cartoon character, for lack of a better term, that he had become.
Now, Mark, Salvation Run, this was an Ollie special for you as well, right?
That is correct, sir. I had no idea what the fuck this was.
Are we tying this in with anything?
Yeah, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom.
Because that makes sense.
I remember asking him, like, why are we tying this in with that? And his answer was...
Dinosaurs.
It was like, I think there's a dinosaur on the cover. Lo and behold, there's no fucking dinosaur on this cover. I don't think so at all.
They get chased by a dinosaur somewhere.
Okay, all right. There's your loose tie-in, folks.
Lizard lions.
Broadcast.
Lizard lions, that's what it was.
Gotcha. Yes, the lizard lions do make an appearance here. So,
one panel.
It's time for the synopsis.
Here we go.
I want to synopsis this whole thing, and then we're going to talk some talking points.
Is everybody ready now?
Not yet.
And we're going to get out of here. So, what is the best way to get rid of supervillains? I'd say many methods have been used in the past, but
kill him.
Yeah, well, that was one of them. Rick Flag and Amanda Waller may have struck upon the most humane punishment that has actually never been implemented, sending them to a serene, uninhabited planet and let them live their lives there, free from the inhibitions and the burden they place on society. The only problem is this world is a training ground for the evil Desaad and the parademons from Apokolips. Shortly after the first group of villains arrive, the planet's engineered beasts come alive, threatening their survival. When the last group of villains to arrive contain Lex Luthor, who immediately butts head with the presumed leader of the other faction, the Joker. This causes a split in the ranks, and they each depart from the other. Luthor's group is focused on building a device to make their way home, while Joker's people have very little structure at all. Soon, Joker's army attacks Luthor's, and it wasn't enough that they had to deal with the threats of the planet. They have to worry about each other. Mixed up in all this is Martian Manhunter, who for a while shapeshifts amongst the crew, unbeknownst to the rest of them, attempting to communicate back home to let the League, Justice League, or the government know that this planet is not what it seems. That is until he is outed by Catwoman and summarily defeated and placed in a cage of fire. Desaad makes his play to capture the villains. I think his plot here was to capture them and turn them into parademons. So he makes his play to capture the villains, turn them into parademons, sending scores of his own soldiers through boom tubes to the planet. Luthor retreats with his half-built device to one of the safest spots there and puts the finishing touches on it, which unfortunately is capturing some of the energy-based villains and siphoning their power to the warp machine. Activating it, he and most of the villains escape back to Earth just before having it self-destruct, killing a bunch of parademons, leaving some villains dead, and stranding Martian Manhunter on the planet still in his cage. So that is right there a very brief summarization of what happened in this comic. Now, there's a lot of other little things that occurred in here. Clearly, it was 7 issues, came out in, we said, 2007 to 2008, and so I've got a few of the talking points here that I'll go ahead and bring up. One of the side plots was Vandal Savage. And, Ronnie, I mean, did you have any... What was Vandal Savage going to try and do here? He took off with some women.
He be fucking.
That was not Ronnie. That was not my response. Vandal Savage was basically wanting to start his... he was told the women that he took with him that he was going to lead them to a paradise, but then revealed it was not for them.
I got you.
Not paradise for them, because he was using them as as breeding tools. And he was going to make his own children into make it a paradise for them.
I got your paradise in my shorts.
Yeah, there was all this talk. There was all this talk about this safe zone, and it was neat how they brought in, like, first it was the rogues. We're going right over the pants.
I got your safe zone in my shorts.
That is not safe at all, sir. Not safe. So, they first bring in the rogues. They send the rogues to the planet, and it was... They had to work together to try and figure out a way to survive, which worked for quite a while. It seemed like, even though they couldn't stand each other. But then they start sending the rest of these villains over, and of course one of them being Vandal Savage.
I kept thinking about this whole series like it was a movie. And there were 2 parts of it that I was like, I feel like they were only thrown in there to kind of flesh this out a little bit more, give it a little bit more oomph so that you weren't totally focused on the Joker and Lex Luthor. And one of them was the Vandal Savage storyline. But the other side of that is it would make sense that he would kind of do his own thing and go his own way, and then want to stick his dick in anything that moved. That's all fine.
Out of all the things that I've read with Vandal Savage in it, never thought that about him.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
It's the first thing. His own way, absolutely.
It's the first thing that he'd like to go his own way in a lot of vaginas. That's what I think.
What?
Just keep coming back, Ronnie.
I know, and I wanted to be on this show tonight. Hey, I haven't done one in a while. I miss you guys. No.
Correction. Wrong.
What did I say that was wrong, Ronnie? Now you're making me feel sad.
Oh, please.
Just shut up. Don't even.
You have no shame, sir.
Shit, no shame in my no shame in my game. Anyway, Vandal Savage and his penis. Let's talk about that for a moment. It would make sense to me that that Vandal Savage would not accept leadership from any party and would just want to do his own thing. The other part that I thought was just kind of added in there, and I didn't really feel like added anything to the story, but it's like, well, we need a twist here, so we'll throw the Martian Manhunter in there, and somehow or other he'll get found out and captured, which I've never understood about the Martian Manhunter, considering he's a completely overpowered individual who can phase in and out of things. So, like, him and the Vision, I don't know how they ever get caught doing anything.
Yeah, he, if I remember correctly, I mean, he's, when we may have had this discussion on this podcast, but he's a very, very powerful individual. And then they were like, okay, he's way overpowered. We need to throw something in there. So they used the whole fire thing. And as soon as fire gets involved, Martian Manhunter, he is done. He's like, okay.
I actually collected JLA at that time. Well, actually, when they took the fire away.
You were telling me about that because they took it away, and he turned into something.
The other or something, I forget. No, that's Spider-Man. He turned into like this big alien entity that the Burning, I think it was, threatened everybody. It was big to do. It was good. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, okay. So yeah.
The only thing it was really weird, and it was kind of cool because the only thing that could take him down was chaos. His mind couldn't take the chaos, so Batman figured out the most chaotic being he knew was Plastic Man. So he couldn't control Plastic Man. He couldn't do anything with him, and that's who they got to help take him down.
Okay. Now, Mark,
sir,
the Joker is one of the villains that is sent onto this planet. Now, I wrote down two instances here where the Joker is involved. He's obviously one of the main characters. Even though we start out with the Rogues, I think, in the first issue, Joker shows up, I think, in the second issue. What'd you think of the Joker being portrayed here, and your thoughts on his interactions with, I wrote down Grodd and Luthor, because I think both of them were, clearly Luthor was the bigger fight of the two, I guess you would say. But go ahead. What's your thoughts on the Joker in this story?
This is probably, I mean, I think if everyone looks at like the Killing Joke as like the quintessential Joker book, I actually think if you really want to give like an actor, like a modern actor, a book to read that kind of captures the essence of the Joker, it's probably this one. This was quintessential Joker. He, while Lex Luthor is head of the student council and is trying to raise money for the pizza party, and is getting everything organized. There's the Joker just tearing everything down and not
throwing a kegger.
Yeah, and he's throwing a kegger, and and it's just like, but we all have to study, and he's just like, the SAT is for fags. It's just the whole thing. That's the Joker.
Good night, folks.
The Joker is just chaos, and he is definitely the pig that makes his house of straw. He doesn't give a shit, and he's not wearing any pants. But you know what I mean, Jesse, when I say he's not wearing any pants and he don't give a shit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is one of the things that we've said in the past is the Joker is a lot of times considered chaos incarnate.
Yeah, he's the epitome of chaos, anarchy. I mean, you look at the Dark Knight, where he just burns a giant pyramid of money because he can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a meme up that had all these different villain characters and they're like Dungeons and Dragons alignments. And I think Joker was like chaotic evil.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. The Joker has to be in charge, but he has no leadership qualities at all. Like he couldn't lead a horse to water, let alone lead a group of villains off a planet. But he somehow finds himself in the role of leadership because of his like cult of personality.
Right.
And I think that's what's great about the Joker. And I love that, like, how frustrating that is for some of the more intelligent, more, goal-minded villains like Lex Luthor and some of the other ones where it's like, we have a legit problem here. We're stranded on a biomechanical planet that's trying to kill us every second of every day. We need to get off of here. And the Joker's like, oh, I want to be in charge. Do you have any idea how to get... but Ricky, I want to go to the dance. You know, like that's the Joker for you. He's Lucy. And so it's like, you contribute nothing. And what's great is that he's not alone. He has, like, I love the panel where there's just people around his camp just laying on blankets eating fruit. Like,
Yeah.
he is surrounded by pigs in no pants that build their house of straws. And then it's great. And that's what I loved about this.
Pan.
Yeah. He is a lost boy.
Yeah. No, I was talking about the god of being drunk and having goat legs.
Oh, well, that too.
That fits as well. Give props to our writers here, because Mark said he liked the portrayal of the Joker in this story. Bill Willingham and Lila Sturgis are the ones that wrote this story. And our artists are Sean Chen, Walden Wong, Joe Bennett, and Bellardino Bravo. So the Joker, Ronnie Adams.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned there was a point in this comic book where he kills a guy. Do you remember who that dude was? I think I know
Iron
who
Cross.
it was. Yes.
He killed Iron Cross. I don't know who the villain was he beat to death with a rock.
Simon.
Yeah. P-S-I-M-O-N.
Yes.
Because we're DC and we're good. No, he beats Simon to death with a rock. And then he just shoots Iron Cross in the face for touching his jacket.
I didn't know if this was going to be an inconsequential story where everybody that's involved gets out alive. But when the Joker takes the rock to Simon, I was like, okay, we're dealing with something here that is all
it's a little more important than...
Yeah, all cards are on the table. All bets are off. What'd you think of when the Joker got the drop on Grodd? Did you see that coming?
Yeah, man. He's the Joker. I mean, he beat Simon to death with a rock, and I don't even know why, to be honest with you. I think just because he wanted to be in charge. Mm-hmm. And then he shoots, I can't remember if that comes later, but he's just shooting guys in the face, beating people to death with a rock. He keeps Kid Carnival.
Oh, boy.
He keeps that psycho around. Like, the kid looks at him and says, I want to make a coat of your skin, a cape if there's enough material to honor you.
Here's the thing. So Simon very practically is suggesting that since they can't get off the world, they need to repopulate it and recreate a civilization. And so he's doing the math involved and figuring out how much fucking needs to be done to repopulate this planet, right? And and if the Joker were here right now, I'd be dead before I got that entire sentence out because it's so boring. Meanwhile, Kid Carnival, or Carnival, he's absolutely no threat to the Joker, and the Joker knows it.
No,
so it's like,
right. He's not a threat. But if somebody looks at you and says, hey, I want to hang out with you because eventually I'm going to gut you in your sleep and make a coat out of your skin, are you going to keep him around?
Yeah, I don't want to get rid of my son.
Oh, jeez.
No, Tom, I've not met your son. I've seen pictures. I've talked to him on podcasts. He seems like a good kid. And I have to say, at no time do I think Jonas has ever looked at you and says, Father, I want to make a coat of your skin, Father.
No, not specifically. But, my son is always saying to me, like, you're gonna get it and I'm gonna give it to you. That's his new phrase. Okay? Like, he's like, let's wrestle. He's just like, you watch out for my super kick. Like, he tells me what he's gonna do before he does it. Now, maybe if Jesse, or Jason Teasley or Pat Mullen said, watch out for my super kick, I might actually do something to protect myself. Because if one of those guys kicks me, I might get hurt. One never knows. I've heard Jesse takes catches a mean football and does a barrel roll.
You better watch out.
That's right.
Judo roll.
However, jelly roll. However,
man, you're just mean.
Tootsie roll. Now Tootsie roll. But I mean, when the 4-year-old says, you better watch out for my super kick, I don't take it seriously. I don't even pay him any attention.
That's because you're talking about a 40-year-old that's pretending to wrestle. Okay. We're talking about a supervillain.
It equates to Kid Carnival and the Joker.
No way does this equate to Kid Carnival.
Yes, it does.
And your psychotic mind, apparently it does. Because this kid has killed things and people before.
Right. It's all relative.
Has your son ever legitimately kicked someone in the face?
Me? Sure, absolutely.
Someone else of consequence.
No, not that I'm aware of.
All right, so he obviously has killed people in the past, not your son.
I was going to say, who, Jonas?
Character.
Whatever you know that I don't.
Not your son, the comic book character.
All right, I want to.
And then he looks at somebody else. He looks at somebody else and says, "I'm going to murder you and make clothing."
Flavor Flav says,
But so yes, if you look at him and say, you know what, I need to get rid of this little psychopath as soon as possible. Otherwise, he's going to be wearing me like a mask.
So,
but he's not.
But Joker's crazy enough to look at him and say, you know what, I'll keep him around. The kid's got moxie.
That's where I was going to go. It's like it's typical Joker to keep this kid around.
Okay, number one, the Joker keeps him around because that's flattering that this guy wants to make a coat out of him. Number two, he keeps him around because he says no way going to be able to make a coat out of the Joker.
You don't know that.
The Joker kicked Gorilla Grodd off a cliff, and Gorilla Grodd's
after Gorilla Grodd had been shot 5 times in the chest.
Again.
And just experienced a pretty tough fight with, I don't know who the hell that was. But
Joker has won a few rounds with some of the smartest people in the DC universe. You know, the Joker's pretty confident on top of it.
We ain't even got to Luthor versus Joker. And that's got to come up here in a second.
No, we're stuck on Luthor. We're stuck on Joker versus Kid Carnival.
Hey, just real quick, I decided to click on Kid Carnival's wiki here. Okay,
Kid Cadaver,
created by one of our writers, Bill Willingham.
Kitten Cavoodle.
First appearance in Shadow Pack #1, July of 2006. But here, this is where it gets fun. His alter ego is Jeremy Karn, and team affiliations. Are you ready for this? Team affiliations: the Pentacle, Justice Society of America, which I don't know how, because the next one makes me even more confused. The Fourth Reich.
Yeah, he's a Nazi.
He's a freaking Nazi. As a matter of fact, they're showing a picture of him here. It says on the cover of Justice Society of America, and he's just wearing the red, and he has the swastika, like it takes up most of his body. So, interesting. But, his abilities, here we go. His abilities: possible immortality, skilled athlete, gymnast, torturer, and murderer. So there you go. So Joker gets the drop on Grodd in this comic, kicks his ass off a cliff. I did not see that coming. Here's my problem. I overestimate or underestimate the Joker's insanity. He felt threatened by Grodd in some capacity, or he wouldn't have done this. Then again, hell, you never know. But that led to one of the more critical points of the book, because Gorilla Grodd does not die in the book. He actually lives. But there's one issue that just focused solely on the fight between Luthor and Joker, where everybody's like, okay, both these guys are like, look, let's have it out right now. As the other two sides, I think, are getting ready to go at it, or each of their sides, I guess you should say, then the Joker and Luthor have the knockdown, drag-out fight that we've been waiting for them to have throughout this whole series.
Oh, that's what this whole thing was leading up to.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the complete breakdown of... I mean, really, when you have... With Lex Luthor or Lex Luger and the Joker, you have...
It was amazing. He put the Joker in the rack, and... he tapped out.
My friends would always call that the mildly annoying rack, because when you actually put it on somebody, it's like, stop.
It's a great thing to
put me down.
It's a great thing to do to little kids. They think it's hilarious.
Right?
Yeah. Anywho, so this whole thing has been leading up to, this is order versus chaos. And with Lex Luthor, you have a very orderly, like, here's what we're going to do, here's our plan, everything is laid out, and it'll succeed because I've got it all figured out. And then there's Joker, who's just like, what happens if we just set everything on fire? What if we do that?
What happens if I
how about
keep a kid around that wants to kill me and make my skin a coat?
Right, he's adorable. What happens if we just burn everything to the ground? What then? And so ultimately, you have these two forces of nature that are destined to clash. And
it also, look at who their followers are. Luthor has the more.
Here, I'll read down I actually have the camps right here. Okay. On the wiki, it has them all listed down. So let's start with Camp Joker.
Okay.
All right. So obviously we have the Joker, and you guys step in if you want to say anything about anybody. But here we go. We have the Joker, Bolt, Brutal, Cicada, Effigy, Giganta, Girder, Gorilla Grodd, Hyena.
Gigantor. Sorry.
Hyena, Julie, Jinx. Yeah, it's spelled Jewelle, or Jewellee. Julie. Jinx, Jongler, Kid Carnivore.
I feel like you're just making some of these up.
So clearly, it's in alphabetical order. Jongler, Kid Carnival, Killer Croc, Killer Frost, Leather, Magenta, Mammoth, Manbat, Manticore, Poison Ivy, which I don't even recall seeing her. Was she in there at all? Poison Ivy, Ragdoll, Scorpio, Solomon Grundy, Sonar, another victim, by the way. But anyway, the Solomon Grundy. We'll talk about that here at the end. But Sonar, Tar Pit, Trimmer, and Two-Face. And then we have, before we get into Camp Luther, we did have Camp Savage, by the way. He'd be fucking. Vandal Savage.
Oh.
With Cheetah, Lady Flash, Nocturna, and Phobia. So they're out. They're out trying to find the safe zone in his pants. So Camp Luther. Camp Luther. Now, Ronnie, we just ran down Camp Joker.
Uh-huh.
Do you see, I mean, there's a few in there I can see that kind of subscribe to the chaos that Joker may have.
Well, I think
like
What do you see the most of? What do you see the most of?
I was going to say, I think a lot of them just don't want to work. And in Luther's camp, you actually had to like work to get off the planet, and the rest of them just like, I just want to play my flute all day and build my house of straw.
What you see mostly in Joker's camp are the physical anomalies of the supervillain
Man-Bat.
Yeah, Man-Bat. Was Clayface part of his camp?
No, Clayface was actually, he's over on Luther's camp.
Okay, so you've got these people that have these physical powers, you know, that their visage, their person, their body has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like Poison Ivy, like Man-Bat, like, you know, Gorilla Grodd. And then on Luther's side, you know, Clayface's side, you have all these guys who have technology.
Yeah, there's quite a few that stand out.
Yeah, like Captain Cold.
Yep.
And the other dude, Captain Fire.
At least two doctors.
Heatwave.
They have Captain Fire. They have at least two doctors over there, Dr. Light and Dr. Savannah. Dr. Savannah is like, that is the big bad for Shazam.
Yeah.
And he's been around since the 40s, I think, 30s and 40s, somewhere around there.
You've got intelligence. You've got, you know, technology. You've got, you know, the more quote-unquote human side of the villains.
There are a few outliers, but I'll run down the list. We got Lex Luthor, obviously, Abracadabra, Bane, Black Spider, Blockbuster, actually Manhunter and Martian Manhunter, and
he doesn't count.
Bloodsport, Captain Cold, Chemo, Deadshot, Dr. Light, Dr. Savannah, Hammer and Sickle, Heatwave, Eyeback, Iron Cross, Lady Vic, Metallo, Mirror Master, Mr. Freeze, Mr. Terrible, Monsieur Mala, Neutron, Professor Ivo, Rock, Silver Swan, Tapeworm, the Body Doubles, the Brain, which the Body Doubles, never heard of them before.
Nope.
But those chicks were ruthless. Those are the ones that just they picked up. Oh shit! One of them was injured. They're like, no, we need to save him. So they save him, only to throw him to the lion lizards.
Right.
Because he was just about dead, and they're like, nope, we can use him as bait. But anyway, the Body Doubles, the Brain, the Shadow Thief, Thunder and Lightning, Shimmer, Split Shot, Stranglehold, Warp, and the Weather Wizard. So there's your two camps, character by character, ladies and gentlemen. You have a better idea of which one's which there. So anyway, let's head back to Luther versus Joker. So Mark Radulich, did you have anything else to say on that?
Again, it had a very cinematic quality to it. I very much sympathize with Lex Luthor, because as much as I'm entertained by the Joker, I've been where Lex Luthor's been, where it's just like, here's the practicality of the situation, here's what we need to do, and I'm always like having to deal with the one person who's just like, no, let's just pee on things. It's like, how about, can't we just focus? And then everyone wants to follow the guy with like the super charisma who's like also chaotic and fun, and it's just the story of my life. It's So, like, I'm reading this, and I'm just like, I feel like bad for Lex Luthor. He's like, I want to build
you got transported to a prison world.
planet.
Hell world.
A psychotic clown for leadership.
I have been where Lex Luthor has been, and I sympathize with his position, and I felt bad for the guy because, come on, haven't you been there in your life where, where you're trying to give a serious suggestion? Like, like I'm always dealing with this guy,
every time I'm on this show.
Damn it, I was trying to do the opposite there. It's like every time I'm on the show with
single time.
Every time I'm trying to have a serious conversation, Ronnie takes it into the gutter.
Shut up.
Well, here's a probably an example that everybody can relate to. When you were in school, in high school, and they divided you up in groups to do some type of a project. There was a lot of times where you may have gotten paired with somebody that was a slacker.
Oh, God, yeah.
Somebody that didn't do shit, or somebody that let you take up the other 90%. Luther's trying to get off this world. I don't understand why, like, not 90% of the people are like, yeah, let's do this. He's clearly proven himself to be somebody that might be able to do that. But no, a bunch of them go with the Joker. And it's
because they're super villains. They're insane anyway. Let's put it this way. Most of the people on Joker's side anyway, which would you rather do? Would you rather go and steal and scrape together, not scrape together, but, you make your life robbing banks and all this, doing all this crime, which you enjoy, but 99.9% of the time you get your face kicked in by a guy dressed like a bat anyway.
Yeah.
So why not stay on a world and take it over where there is no man dressed like a bat?
Mm-hmm.
This could be completely mine.
Well, I think the other side of this is you got to remember that a lot of these, they went into crime because they did not want to work, and that is exactly what Luthor is saying. He's saying, if you want to get off this planet, you're going to work. And a lot of them had the mindset of, you can't make me work. I don't want to. And when you finally do all the hard work of building the boom tube, I'll just shoot someone and run through it.
Well, that's villainy at its finest right there. Ronnie, what do you think of the fight between Luthor? Now, the actual fight, Luthor versus Joker. Now,
when did Luthor get ripped like a linebacker, dude?
He's a big dude. He's a pretty big guy. I've always, I don't know. I've never thought of him like, if you compare him to like Dr. Sivana. Yeah. Like, I certainly didn't think that Luthor was Dr. Sivana size. Dr. Sivana was this professor guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's a weenie or anything, but I didn't think he would be built like a brick outhouse. I mean, my God.
He's a brick house.
The outcome of that fight, I mean, the Joker had Lex Luthor dead to rights. He was going to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of that?
Should have.
Should have?
No.
I mean, no. What I'm saying is that believable to you?
Yeah,
it was. Okay.
Yeah, the Joker is a wily son of a gun. He's had some throwdowns with. I mean, he fights Batman. And Batman knows 700 forms of martial arts.
How many?
I mean, shut up.
700 forms. 700.
I exaggerate, but he knows them all.
All 700.
So, well, I was really surprised. I'll just go ahead and put that out there. I thought Luthor would rip this guy to shreds. I mean, the Joker ran wild here. If it wasn't for Grodd's, potentially living or almost dying off of that cliff, if he would have died, the Joker would have killed two heavy hitters here, Simon and Grodd, and almost Lex Luthor. Not to be trifled with.
No.
The Joker.
He beat Jason Todd to death with a crowbar.
Yeah, well...
But who didn't want to beat Jason? Who didn't want to beat Jason Todd to death with a crowbar?
There was...
Point taken.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It just took me by surprise. So, let me... do I have... What other questions do I have here? I mean, really, we have the death toll, which, like I said, this had quite the impact on supervillains there prior to the New 52 hitting. And here we go. Hellhound 2, which that was the one that got thrown to the lizard lions.
The body doubles.
Yep. Simon by the hand of the Joker. Iron Cross, again by the hand of the Joker. So I'm sorry, I forgot to count him. So that's 3 people, almost 4 people the Joker almost killed here. 2 for sure, Simon and Iron Cross. Then we have the brain, which is, I assume, the brain that other ape was carrying.
Yeah.
When he went and talked to. So is Monsieur Mala the actual ape? I'm looking at it here. Yes, it is. Okay. So I don't understand what the fuck this guy's all about. I got to look this up. What was his first appearance? Okay. Doom Patrol, number 86, March of 1964.
Well, that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. We got a beret-wearing, bandolier brandishing, brain-carrying, gun-toting ape.
French monkey.
He deserved to die, and it was brutal too, man. Fucking God, this
just monkey beat him to death, man. Just arms flailing, screaming the entire time. It was nasty.
This book does have its brutal moments. I mean, the fight between Grodd and Monsieur Mala and the brain was pretty. I mean, the brain couldn't do shit. The brain could just lay there on the ground and be like, "Oh no, don't do it!" And then
please don't kill him.
Please don't kill him with me, because he picks up the brain and then proceeds to beat Monsieur Mala with it.
With the case that he's carried around the brain in.
And but anyway, that was brutal. The fight between Luther and the Joker was, I mean, there was blood going everywhere. I mean, when Hellhound dies, I mean, his intestines are, the first time that he's about to die, his intestines are hanging out. So it's definitely a
not
more
for the faint of heart.
Yeah, more of an adult comic for sure. I mean, this isn't something that you're going to want to give to your kids. So
unless you're Mark.
Don't turn Mark. Don't give him any ideas. Hyena died. Was she one of the ones that? Because Luther had like 4 or 5 of them in that warp device that he was siphoning power off of. I don't remember Hyena dying. She was probably killed by one of the parademons.
Probably.
Solomon Grundy, who he died as well, I think, in the parademon attack. Then
he doesn't really count because he dies every time.
That's true.
Fights him.
That's true. Then we have Neutron, Plasmus, Heatmonger, Thunder and Lightning, and Warp. And I think those guys were definitely in the Warp device. So they all died because pretty much exploded the device and killed everybody on their way out.
Luthor needed batteries.
Yeah. He's like, okay, I choose you. So, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to the impact that this story had on the DC universe, there was some shots that weren't pulled at all. I mean, they definitely took their toll among the villainy of the DC universe. And of course, we're left with Martian Manhunter, who's just stuck on this world, which I'm curious as to how the hell he gets out of there. I'm sure something.
Right.
I honestly thought it was a waste to have him in the story. I mean, like,
exactly.
As I said before, I get that, like, they needed something else to be happening in the book. So, so they and from a continuity and this is something I really wanted to talk about. I'll double back to it in a second. But if there's now a policy of these supervillains, these meta supervillains can no longer share the same space, the same air as the rest of us, they're just too dangerous. Then, so we're going to start shipping them to another planet. You would like to think that there's a way to keep an eye on them. So, 1, to make sure they don't come back, and 2, at some point you have to retain your sense of humanity, or why not just kill them? It would almost be more humane. So it would make sense that they would send someone like Martian Manhunter, who's very overpowered to begin with, to kind of just hang around and watch things, make sure everything's going to be okay, and that they didn't send them to, they didn't City Alpha 5 these motherfuckers, and send them to a planet that 5 minutes later explodes. Star Trek 2, in case anyone didn't know that. Not the new one, but Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan.
I was tracking.
Give me Genesis.
And I don't even like Star Trek.
Genesis. I got Genesis in my shorts.
No.
Anyway, there it is.
I wanted to talk about this, though, really quick. And that is the whole decision to do this in the first place, and whether or not they really knew that this was a training ground for parademons. I thought it was interesting. I thought I'm very fascinated by the idea of we can no longer continue to care for these people, and regular prisons are not going to work, so we're just going to boom tube them, we've seen this before, haven't we? They tried this with the Hulk. You know,
didn't they
in
try
Marvel.
Didn't they try this with Australia as well?
You talking about real life?
In
Yes.
real life,
Yes. Yes.
I like Australian people, but it did start out as a prison. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, so did Georgia. Georgia was a prison colony.
Well, it kind of still is. I'm kidding, Georgia.
I'm interested in the whole idea of where both comic book companies got to a point where they were thinking, you know what, we need to send the most dangerous being or the most dangerous beings in our universe to a different planet, and it didn't work out either time, and they came back. You know, it was like as vast a universe as space is. Somehow or other, they always write a back door somewhere. You know, like this one, they think they're sending them to the same place they thought they were sending the Hulk, right? To this planet.
That's
where
true.
There's just, it's just deer. That's all that inhabits this planet. It's just deer and babbling brooks, and it's just a perfect little forest planet. Nothing wrong with it. In the one case, Hulk knocked his ship off course because he went crazy. But, in this particular case, it's like, how do you mess that up? Like, we were examining all these different planets, and we found one. Oh, as it turns out, it's a training ground for parademons. Oops.
Well, the thing about it is, if you look at it this way, Mark, you'll understand why it happens. Because if they wrote that it wasn't a parademon training ground, or he didn't get stranded on the wrong planet, they couldn't sell any more books.
No, I get that.
Okay.
I from a functional level, I understand that. I'm just, it's all very fascinating to me. I really like this book. I enjoyed the story. What makes it is the struggle between order and chaos, and emblematic in the Joker and Lex Luthor. But there's some other fun stuff too. I like the guilt that starts the book off with the Flash's rogues. They're like, we killed him. We are now fighting for our lives because we killed this guy. There's no going back. Like, they were fully prepared to make a new life on this planet.
Yeah. How competent were the rogues? And they could have survived on their own.
Yeah,
and not had to worry about anybody else.
I thought that they were probably the characters. If I was rooting for any characters in this book, I wanted the rogues to be able to either make it or at least survive for sure. And I
was kind of hoping Thunder and Lightning would, but then they got put in the Matrix and used as human batteries.
Yeah. Okay. So these guys were they were on here for a little while before the second group got thrown in. They made they were making it pretty well actually for a little while, and they worked together really well too, is what you saw.
Yeah.
You saw them just okay, well, hey, Weather Wizard, what do we need here? Now granted, they got on each other's nerves every once in a while, but you could tell that they were trying to survive and they were probably going to make it.
But one of them wasn't going to shoot the other one in the face for touching his jacket.
Yeah, exactly. Then you introduce these other two elements into the mix, and things clearly get out of control.
One's power hungry and the other one's insane.
It's neat how the structure of the book occurs. I mean, if you look at it, we start out with the rogues, which I thought that I had no idea what we were going to get into this when we got into the story. But we start out with the rogues, which I thought that's all we were going to focus on. Like, the rogues are going to have to figure out a way to get back. But no, then things just starts escalating, and I just went through the two camps. We have all these supervillains on this planet. How are things going to work out? And
I was going to say, like, the best part of this book is, as the parademons are bearing down on the villains and they're all running through the boom tube and everything, and Lex Luthor's just like, I just need you to know that I beat you. That's so Lex Luthor, right?
Oh yeah,
that was so great. And I wish the DC universe had worked out. The DC cinematic universe had worked out, because this would have been a great movie to make. Like,
not with Jesse Eisenberg.
Well, that's my point. Like, I wish Warner Brothers and DC had been competent, and actually, thought things through, because this would have made this could have been a Suicide Squad movie. They don't necessarily need 100 villains to be in this, but just enough, kind of adapt it where, the first part of the movie is the Suicide Squad gathering up the big bads of the Jokers and the Lex Luthors or whatever of the DC universe, and they go through the boom tube, and then the Suicide Squad gets tricked into going through the boom tube too, and now they're there, and then this, everything that you see in the book happens. They split into two camps that leads to a fight fight between Joker and Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor finally builds the transport. They go through it. Parademons attack. Lex Luthor stands in front of it yelling, "I beat you." Boom. They go back through. End credits. I would love to see that as a movie, and we're never going to. Maybe we'll get an animated movie, because apparently that's the only time they know how to make anything good.
Well, yeah, I think that we would be, if we just jumped into something like this, there'd be people screaming like, "I don't know who this is." Hell, I read the comic and there were like 20 characters I didn't even know who they are. So it would be, obviously, like you said, we don't need all the supervillains, but enough to make them familiar characters that we are invested in them, at least. What do you think of the story overall, Ronnie?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I really did. Minus the throwaway stories, the points of it. I thought it was great. I thought it was a very interesting look at what would happen if you threw all the worst villains on a planet and just said, "Hey, survive." There's going to be people pop up and say, "Hey, I want to be in charge." You've got ego versus ego, and power versus insanity, and then you got your third faction where it's just all about breeding and creating a new world, and that is creepy.
I thought that this was a good story. I really enjoyed reading it. I'm glad I had the chance to read it. It's not too often that we get to see Lex Luthor versus the Joker. I mean, that's had its moments in comic book history, but they're rare. So this was something to where we got to see not only Lex Luthor versus the Joker, but we got to see it with, scores of supervillains behind each side.
Yeah, knockdown, drag out.
Yep. And it delivered. I enjoyed reading it. I was able to read it pretty quickly. It didn't feel too cumbersome. It wasn't anything that I felt too weighed down with and regretted trying to read the next issue. I was able to get through it probably within an hour and a half at the most. So that's a good written story for 7 issues. Let the art speak for itself. Some great panels in there, especially throughout the fight. The action was well paced, or I should say, well placed in the comic, throughout the comic, and it looked great. The way the art was drawn, especially throughout the battles. Can't really do those too much justice on an audio podcast. That's something that really sells a comic book. So if you guys want to check out the comic, I would highly suggest it if you like looking at beautiful art, especially brutality, because there's some of it in here. Mark, your final thoughts, man?
I really love this book. It's been one of my favorites that we've read all year. I polished this off while I was on my little staycation this past weekend while my wife was out getting duck donuts. You know what duck donuts is? Delicious. Ugh. And
Actually, I do.
Yeah, aren't they great?
They taste like a funnel cake.
Sure. So while my wife ran out of the...
Don't act like I'm crazy.
I don't eat too much funnel cake, so I can't really say. But while my wife ran out of the hotel to get duck donuts, I read the whole thing, and I thought it was phenomenal. I loved it. I loved that they weren't. It wasn't just the greatest game or whatever the hell where you have the one guy running around and people trying to kill him with a gun or something like that, or just strictly escape from the prison planet. It was, you had the rogues dealing with their guilt basically of killing the Flash and all that implicated, all that meant for them, good, bad, or indifferent. I love the ethical considerations of what because some of them, like, we should be here for what we did. We're all terrible. It's amazing this didn't happen sooner. And others, like, they had no right to do this to us. This is ridiculous. We're citizens, I like that debate, that internal debate within the book. The sort of philosophical, debate between order and chaos, as I've said a couple times now on the show. I loved all of that. Joker being pure Joker. If somebody were to say to me, like, again, what is a great book where the Joker isn't like Juggalo Joker or, just trying to carve off his face or whatever, I would tell them about this one. This was quintessential Joker. Just a really great book. A lot of fun. It's a great concept to say, like, what happens if we take all the villains, put them on a planet with no heroes to step between them? What would happen? Very entertaining stuff.
Real quick, before we get into plugs, I was just looking over the wiki here, and how this played into the Countdown crossover for Countdown to Final Crisis. So there are quite a few crossovers that occur and listed after Salvation Run is a series called The Search for Ray Palmer. Okay, now I don't know if this takes place after it. I'm looking to see it. It doesn't look like it's in alphabetical order, so it may be in chronological order because it goes Death of the New God, Salvation Run, The Search for Ray Palmer. But get this, the reason I'm bringing this up, listen to these titles. Are you guys ready? The Search for Ray Palmer, I apparently goes through, I'm on the Read Comic Online. We've got 6 issues. The Search for Ray Palmer, Crime Society. The Search for Ray Palmer, Gotham by Gaslight. The Search for Ray Palmer, Red Rain. The Search for Ray Palmer, Red Sun. The Search for Ray Palmer, Superman, Batwoman. And The Search for Ray Palmer, Wildstorm. Now that to me sounds like they're trying to find this guy and they're going through different realities to try and find him. Mm-hmm. Because Red Sun, we've covered that on this podcast, just looking at it right now. So there must be some people that are trying to find. Ray Palmer is known as the Atom. They're trying to find this before, obviously, Final Crisis occurs. But, yeah. So, hey, it ties this whole crossover ties into some stuff that we've done before. Interesting stuff. My voice is going, man. I have still not got over this. Still not got over this cold. It's been a week. So, all right. Well, that was our final thoughts, and that is Source Materials coverage on DC's Salvation Run. We'll go ahead and get into plugs. Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast. What, if anything, have you had a chance to get into here lately?
Man, my computer's still down, and I have not had a chance to do much of anything with it. But you can still catch us on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeart, and the Radulich Broadcasting Network. You can go back and listen to our old stuff. We'll be back soon. Don't worry about that. Here coming up at the end of July, I'll be going to Raleigh SuperCon. I mean, it's just a plethora of really cool things going on. I mean, this con goes from like 10 in the morning till 2 in the morning. Dave Bautista's going to be there. William Shatner, Alice Cooper, a ton of wrestlers. And then my big one, I'm going to go, meet and greet and all that is going to be Ralph Macchio.
Nice.
Karate Kid thing. And then in September, I'll be going to another con, Greensboro Comic Con, where the voice of Beast Boy will be there. And so, I mean, we got some good stuff coming up. Expect some good pictures on Instagram. And we'll be back on the air very soon.
All right. Very good. Mark Radulich.
I'm done.
I'm done talking. Mark Radulich, the schedule, sir.
What?
The schedule, sir.
Oh, you want me to plug stuff? Sure. Okay.
Plug it away.
All right.
Come on, Mark. You actually have stuff to plug.
Tomorrow night on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, synergizing with this book because they have a lot in common, is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Might be one of the funniest jokes told on this podcast tonight.
And then on Wednesday, Jesse, have you listened to the 9 Inch Nails playlist that I made you? No.
No, I have not.
And then this Wednesday on the Metal Hammer of Doom, even though Jesse won't listen to any playlist that I make him, we're going to listen to the new 9 Inch Nails album, Bad Witch. Are you a good witch or a bad witch or a sandwich? And then eventually Jesse will listen to the stupid playlist that I made him, and we'll listen to a few more 9 Inch Nails songs and talk about them. Last week on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, myself, Pat Mullen, and Jesse Starcher had a very serious conversation where there were no jokes because there was no gag reel on the trial or the trail, whichever you like.
The trail
of Galactus.
The gag reel actually is happening now because it was the trail of Galactus with Pat Mullen.
Damn it, the Trail of Galactus.
Myself and Robert Winfrey reviewed The Incredibles 2 on Damn You Hollywood, and then on the Metal Hammer of Doom, Ronnie Adams' favorite band, Amorphous, their new album, Queen of Time. We reviewed that in its entirety today. Next month, for source material, we've got a stellar lineup for you. We've got synergizing with Luke Cage Season 2. We've got Luke Cage Volume 1, Sins of the Father. Synergizing with Ant-Man and the Wasp, we've got Ant-Man Volume 1, Second Chance Man. Synergizing with Skyscraper, we've got Incredible Hulks, Planet Savage. Well, you might be asking yourself...
There it is. I didn't have to make anything up for that one.
And you might be asking yourself, what exactly does Planet Savage have to do with a one-legged Dwayne Johnson doing his Die Hard impression? Absolutely nothing. We just thought it would go well together. Actually, I just wanted to cover the book, and that spot was available. Let's see. The following week, Jesse's going to do a show all by himself with Jason Teasley, Threat Level Retard.
Red.
Oh, Red. Okay. I didn't know what it was called. All I can see is the R. Sorry. Threat Level Red. Got it.
How much more offensive can we be? Well, I've got an idea.
I was gonna say,
I've done nothing.
Don't fucking tempt me. And then we finish off July with a little bit of a comic written by Scott Ian of Anthrax fame, Lobo, Highway to Hell. Highway to Hell. Go to hell. So that's all the source material that's fit to print in the month of July.
Very good.
Penis.
It's not fit.
Penis.
None of it is fit to print.
Penis.
Well, all right, thanks.
Yeah,
Mark
yeah,
thank you.
No, we didn't hear you the first 7 times.
Ladies
Penis.
and gentlemen. Oh, my gosh. This
has been a disaster.
Oh, my gosh. Welcome back, Ronnie Adams. Gone for a week. Glad you're back, sir. The show could definitely the show definitely
up.
So go give the Radulich in Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. All sorts of great stuff over there. We're closing in on 170 episodes of source material. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud of this show. Glad I have the opportunity to sit down with my buddies here, talk about some comic books. It's pretty much a book club for comics. So if there's a story out there that you've read and you'd like to maybe listen to a couple other people talk about their experiences with it, that's what this show's for. If maybe there's something you haven't read and you're interested in what exactly happens into it, more than welcome to listen to us talk about it and then go read it. So it's out there, ladies and gentlemen. Last week, there was a special guest appearance. Special guest appearance I was able to make on the Kapow, the Pop Cultured podcast.
Yeah,
so,
wait till they hear this.
Oh, boy. They're going to be so excited that they got their name associated with this act.
What done?
We had a good time. We did some comic book intelligent quotient from Wizard, July, I think it was June or July, June of 1993. So heading back 25 years yet again. If you had a chance to listen to it last year, I quizzed the boys on some CBIQ, and let's just put it this way. The difference between 1992 and 1993 was quite evident when it come to the fact that there were a lot more independent comic book questions on here, including Image and Valiant stuff that these boys didn't really know. So they were high scoring last year. This year, things got a little bit more difficult. And of course, I'll leave y'all to give that a listen and play along. Score yourself, as apparently...
Don't tell me how to live my life.
Wizard, the scoring, okay, the higher you scored, the worse paper cut you got. So like
what the
that was the better you did, like the most ultimate 30 questions, I think it was. So if you got 30 right, you got a paper cut on the on your eye, on your eyeball, not your eyelid, your eyeball.
Why did we ever read Wizard magazine?
It was a lot of fun, man. One of the fun
yeah.
You hop into the entertainment section. No, listen to this. You hop into the entertainment section, okay? And they're talking about some crazy shows that are coming up this fall on the Fox network. One has something to do with some crazy guy by the name of Chris Carter, and the X-Files is about to drop later that year. It's a neat slice out of pop culture history. That's what Wizard's all about nowadays. 25 years ago, checking out some of the top books. Speaking of the 1990s, I have somewhat right now, I have not too involved, but I have become involved with the UnspokenDecade.com. You all have heard Dean Compton on this podcast once or twice. Unspoken Decade is nothing but a devoted fan base to 1990s comics. And there's a website out there called the UnspokenDecade.com, the Facebook site. You can go on there. And I have been granted the ability to post things on there. So every once in a while, I'll throw some covers or some ads or something from the 1990s out there to spark that nostalgia, I guess I'll say. And at some point here, hopefully pretty soon, it's slated for July. I don't know if that's going to be the air date, but we're going to be looking at a 1990 series, which unfortunately is not on Read Comic Online. It is pretty obscure. It's a series called The Hacker Files, and I've read the first 3 issues, and it is a this was in 1992, and the book was written for DC Comics, published by DC Comics, a little bit more along the mature line of things, but it is all about like computers. I thought, oh, this is going to be one of those cheesy deals, where the guy is going to be writing about computers and he ain't going to know shit about computers. I know a little bit about computers. I'm not a computer genius, but I can tell you that a lot of the stuff that he's dropping in 1992, like the ARPANET and the beginning of the internet, are talked about in this book. So it's actually pretty interesting. So that will be something that we'll be discussing at some point on the Unspoken Decade. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jesse Starcher. Ronnie Adams.
Yeah.
He's ready to get out of here. Mark Radulich, are you still awake?
Yeah, I'm doing bills.
All right. He's doing bills right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
He's paying my salary right now. Write a check.
None of that's true.
This has been Source Material. We are out of here. Bye-bye.
All right, we're recording, bitches. And the pudding pop.
And the drugs. And the,
and the women.
and the rookies. Hey, guys.
Yeah?
Start the show. Alexa, start the show.
Now, Mark.
Sir?
Can we start this show?
Justice
Oh,
League.
look. More stuff to not start the show.
I just want to make sure that we know what we're talking about here, because
Mark, we never know what we're talking about. Start the show.
Do shows that start this way make it difficult for you to edit? I'm just wondering.
How about the fact that when somebody interrupts the intro, it makes it difficult?
I think I spelled Pat Mullen's name wrong.
And I think
it's I-N, isn't it? It's not E-N, it's I-N, right?
You also at one point advertised the book as as the Trail of Galactus.
Trail of Galactus?
Plug.
Fuck.
I think.
Karate, Judo, Jeet Kune Do, Kung Fu.
Oh, that's Ronnie making fun of black folks again, like he always does in this podcast.
Oh, no!
Whoa.
If you just tuned in, ladies and gentlemen, Ronnie's racism continues.
What is wrong with you all?
It's okay.
I hate both of you.
Yeah.
Nobody can hear this, see?
I see.
You got it?
Got it, see?
My bad.
Edit this entire part out, see?
A, B, see?
All right, D.
You got you on that one.
And then this Wednesday...
D's nuts!
No, shit. Any play... Ooh, excuse me. Any
God,
play...
man.
We're gonna...
Just say... What happened? Try to swallow a watermelon whole?
Coming up for myself, penis. Coming up right now.
Speaking of coming up.
Penis. So
Are you
I
all 14?
might as well be.